Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games, where we feed our people with relatable content and our victory condition is your satisfaction. I'm Harry and today we have another playthrough. Today I'll be playing through Runebound 2nd Edition. Do not be confused. A few weeks ago I did a playthrough of Runebound 3rd Edition. This is a 2nd edition by a different designer, same publisher, but it is significantly different enough as a game to warrant a playthrough for both. So I will be playing this game solo, and this is what the game looks like set up. So here you have the board, which is basically a map of the lands of Terranov, consisting of many different cities and different terrain types in the form of hexagonal spaces. The board has a bunch of these little adventure tokens in 4 different colors, corresponding with the 4 different types of adventures you could have. And basically, these are the locations where a player must be on these spaces in order to start a quest. And basically, they would draw the corresponding card from the top card of the deck and read and carry out whatever action, or if it's an enemy combat, that it entails. Now, in this game, the 4 different colors, green, yellow, blue, and red, basically designate difficulty. Green being the easiest, and we work our way down to the most difficult, which are your red adventures. And also, the board is pre-populated. There's more green than there are red because you want a lot of those easy opportunities for adventure. Of course, the more difficult ones also come with greater rewards. We set up the market. The market for all of the 8 different cities on the board. There's a slot for each of these on the right-hand side of the board, and we set them up with starting items and allies that you will be trying to buy when you go to these different markets in their respective cities. Now, the rulebook recommends to start the game off with 1 item card, 1 item and or ally card, 1 market card in each of the, in 7 of the 8 markets. You're not going to start the game off with a market card in Tamalier, because Tamalier is the starting space, so you don't want to have a shop item already immediately available to you. Now, even though the rule book recommends to only have 1 shop item in each of the markets, I actually start the game with 3 because I want to have a few more options, right? So that's a little self-made variant that I have implemented. All right, so there's that as far as the market is concerned. Each player gets a character. By the way, we have a bunch of tokens set aside. Here we have some health and fatigue tokens, which we'll be using whenever we incur damage or fatigue. We also have some event tokens here. These are for to designate particular spots on the board that have become relevant later on. You have some power up or level up tokens. This game has a really cool way of leveling up. And you also have the Doom tokens, which basically will trigger the end of the game. So each player gets a character, and my character is going to be Ronan of the Wild, and the card tells you the player's stats. He has 4 life or 4 hearts, and he has 4 fatigue. So that's how much he can incur before he is exhausted or knocked out. You do not get eliminated in this game. You just get knocked out, and then eventually you have to heal. Now, as far as the exhaustion is concerned, the fatigue, if you ever reach your threshold, any additional fatigue that you would incur after the threshold would actually be dealt in heart or life damage. So think about that. Each character also has a special ability. Here it says that Ronan of the Wild, after rolling your movement dice, you may take 1 fatigue voluntarily to re-roll 1 movement die. So just in case you do not like what you roll, because moving through this game is not as simple as going wherever you want. Instead, we have these 5 special movement dice that have different faces of the die corresponding to the different terrain types on the board, and you need to roll the terrain types that you want to move through or to. Also, he has some skills, right? There's a bunch of skill tests that you're going to be taking throughout the course of the game, rolling some dice. And it says that his skills, he has a climb, which is he has a +2 bonus for any climb skill test he has to do. He has a hide +2, and he has a swim +2. So that's really cool. And then on the bottom here, you have his attributes. Basically, you have his mind, his body, and his spirit. And it tells you their stats. His mind, he has a power of 3. For his body, he has a power of 2. And for his spirit, he has a power of 2 as well. So these are the modifiers that you add to specific tests, skill tests, and or attack, because these 3 attributes also correspond to the 3 different types of attack that players will be engaging in throughout the game. You have the mind, which will correspond to the ranged attack. First, you do ranged attack from a distance. Then the body, which corresponds with the melee attack. And finally, the spirit, which corresponds with the magic attack. And then you see a backslash and a smaller number there, 2, 1, and 1 respectively. And those numbers refer to the amount of damage that you inflict when you successfully hit somebody with one of those three forms of attack. All right, so there we go. We've got the dice, we've got the movement dice, we've got all of this set up. The game suggests a Doom track endgame variant. And if you're playing solo, it's especially important because it gives you some limitation. You cannot indefinitely play this game and level up your character infinitely, right? You have a sense of a ticking time bomb. And what happens is every time you complete one of these adventure cards, or you discard them for whatever reason, sometimes they're discarded for other reasons. Every time that happens, you set the card aside face down here next to the city spaces here, the market spaces here. And after a certain amount of them have been placed, that triggers the placement of one of these Doom tokens. And the amount of cards all is dependent on the amount of players. So for example, in a solo game, the rulebook recommends that every 2 cards that are discarded will be placed on the bottom. Now, the problem with that is that you always keep the bottom card. You'll see as the game progresses, you always cycle the bottom card back down and keep it there. So there's always 1 card. So theoretically, every adventure that you're completing triggers one of these Doom Track tokens being placed. And that only gives you 8 turns. And I find that I'm not good enough to beat this game in 8 turns. So instead, what I do is every 3 cards that are discarded from the adventure cards will be added there, and then we'll add a Doom token for each of those 3 cards. And then what happens is you put the Doom token on the lowest city that does not have a Doom token, and as the game progresses, once all 8 of these cities have a Doom token on it, that triggers what's called the end game, and it's your one and last opportunity to try to confront Margath the dragon, right? Who will be found in the red or most difficult adventure deck. So that's that as far as the end game trigger and the winning conditions concerned. You need to beat Margath in order to win. All right, so we are done with that. So let us start the game. So the first thing I'm going to do is on your turn, you have 4 different phases. The first phase is the movement phase. Well, actually, you have the refresh phase, just in case you have any special cards. You need to refresh them that were used previously, because some cards can only be used once per round. Then you have your movement phase, which consists of rolling these 5 dice. So I'm going to roll these 5 dice right here. Alrighty. And then, based on what you roll, you can use these to manipulate and move your way through the board. So most of these dice have 2, sometimes even 3 different options you can choose from the different terrain types. So I'm here in Tamalier. I want to start working my way to some adventures, right? Because right now I am trying to get some money, because the more money you have, the better you will be. You do start the game with some money. You start the game with three gold coins, which I have not issued to myself just yet. So I do have 3 gold coins, but I want some more money in order to optimize my options for purchase. So based on what I roll, I'm going to try to make it to Forge eventually, because Forge here is a nearby city. So this is the unicorn right here. And there are 3 cards here available for me. There is a weapon, a bow, but it's very expensive. There is 2 allies. You have the Burning Priest and you have Honor Sword. And the allies are very helpful because there are additional characters that help you to attack. Because without allies, your attacking against monsters and bad guys is actually very, very limited. So I can afford this Burning Priest, and I'm just short of affording this Honor Sword character. So I think who do I want more? I think I want the Priest, because he gets me some spirit attack, some magic attack, which I might be able to use later on. Okay, so let's see if I can make it to the Forge. First of all, I'm going to need something with water. And this little squiggly line on the upper left, that is the symbol for river. So I can move through this. Then I can use a field space. And the field is very simple. That circle that's half colored on the bottom half in black. That is a field space. So I use a field space to go in here. And then I'm going to use any die. You can use any die of your choice to enter a city. And I'm there and I'm in the city. So now that I'm in the city, I'm going to purchase for myself this priest. Now, every time you enter a city and you choose to do the shop action, you always draw the top card of the shop deck, or the, I don't even know what this deck is called, the market deck, and you add it to the current market where you're at, the location where you're at, and it gives you an additional option. So now I drew another ally, Sister Celia, and she's really good, but she's also very expensive. So the only card I could afford here is the Burning Priest. He's going to cost me 3 gold coins. And I will spend those 3 gold coins to add the Burning Priest to my band here of heroes. So now I got Ronin of the Wild, and I have my Burning Priest. And let's just see what the Burning Priest gives me. First of all, his stats. He has 3 life and he has 2 fatigue. And the Burning Priest may take a fatigue voluntarily before your hero rolls the combat dice to give a +2 bonus to that dice. Roll. So that's awesome. Unfortunately, you got to do it before, so you might end up regretting doing it. And you could basically do it up to twice in the game because you have your fatigue limit at 2. So that does limit you as to how often you can do it. You can't do it indefinitely, but it's a very, very, very helpful power. Now, one of the other things you could do in the shop, if you so please, it's optional at least, is you can choose to buy healing. You could pay 1 coin and you could discard 1 wound or all exhaustion counters from your hero or ally. And that's not something you have to do instead of buying a market item. You could choose to do both if you have enough money. You can buy an ally, buy a weapon. You can buy as much as you want and or can afford. But again, that's a helpful power if you ever want to relieve yourself of heart damage, or you and your allies of fatigue tokens. So that is very, very helpful to know. Okay, so I paid 3 of those. By the way, here's his attributes for what I mentioned earlier, mind, body, and spirit. He's very helpful for spirit. This is not going to help me in skill tests, but this is going to help me in combat, which you will see shortly. Okay, so we're done with that, and I'm playing solo, so it's going to be my turn yet again. You have 5 potential phases during your turn. You have your refresh, your cards, you have your movement, you have your adventure. If you go to an adventure token spot, you have your market action, which is what I just did if you go to a market, and you have your experience phase, which is a way of leveling up, which I will show you guys when I actually have some experience points to spend. So let's roll these dice again, and let's see where I want to go. I think I'm going to start doing some light adventuring right now. I feel like I'm off to a good start already with an ally, the Burning Priest. So let's see if I have some forests here. These look like swamps. These look like mountains. Come on. Give me the forests. Give me the forest. No, no, no. None of these are forests. So I'm not going to be able to go to this green spot. I do have some mountain. And then I would need some hill. Do I have any hill spots? Yes, I do. I have mountain and I have a hill. That little symbol on the bottom, that's a hill. So those two will allow me to make it to this space right here. And now I'm going to adventure. So the first thing you do is you grab one of these cards and corresponding with the adventure token. So this is a green adventure. So I'm going to take a green adventure card, and I've got an event. And this is what it says. It says, in the need of heroes, ominous rumors are trickling in from the outlands. The forest grows silent, crops wither in the fields, and the dead do not rest easy. The Lord of Tamalir has offered a handsome reward to any hero brave enough to investigate these portents of doom. The first player with 5 or more total experience, which is clearly going to be me because I'm the only player, from both adventure counters and experience counters, to play the market step in Tamalier draws 2 cards instead of 1. Oh, okay. So from the market deck and adds into the Tamalier market stack. Then he takes a card of his choice from the Tamalier market stack for free. So this is very helpful. This event not only gives me more options if I go to shop to Tamalier, but it also lets me take a card of my choice from that market for free. So that's awesome. So when you draw an event, you place it down here. Now, first of all, the events on the lower right-hand corner have a number in Roman numerals ranging from 1 through 3, I think, or maybe even 1 through 5. And the way it works is, in the future, if you draw any subsequent event cards, they do not replace this one unless the number on the lower right is equal to and or higher. So basically, since this is a number 1, any event that comes out is going to replace this. But if, for example, you have a number 3 event there, and in the future you draw a number 2 event, that will not replace it. So this card here, this event in the Need of Heroes, will stay here, and it's basically a permanent change to the game until it gets replaced, right? All right, so there is that. Now, because this was an event card, we keep on drawing adventure cards. As a matter of fact, there are 3 types of adventures. There are like encounters, there are social encounters, there's events, and there are combat encounters. And until you draw a combat encounter, you actually keep on drawing from this deck right here. And right there, we got a combat. We are going to fight the Mistress of the Ferox. And she's got a life of 2, so she's very beatable. But she has a before combat action. It says, I must test my spirit, and in particular, diplomacy. Because each of these 3 major categories has several subsets of skills. Now, it looks here, I don't have any modifiers for diplomacy, so I'm kind of on my own. To intimidate the Ferox. If you fail, the malice damage of this challenge is the melee damage of this challenge is 2 instead of 0. Ooh, so if I fail this test, her melee damage, which usually is 0, is actually going to be 2. Okay. Then we have the reward. Receive 1 coin. If I defeat her, I receive 1 coin and take this card. You may discard this card to automatically succeed any challenge with the word Ferox in the title. So sometimes these beasts and monsters and baddies that you're beating actually become trophies, sometimes permanent or even temporary trophies in your supply, which is great because that not only does that help you going forward, but it's 1 less card to place on the Doom track. So that is really, really cool. So yeah, we got to do this. Okay, so let's take out the movement dice here. We are going to execute combat right now. And the way it works is the human player always attacks or always rolls. And the way it works is you're going to roll these 2 10-sided dice. And basically, you have the 0 here. The 0 here counts as a 10, not a 0. That's very important to keep in mind. So we've got that. And basically, we're going to add all of these to our modifiers. Now, you must, unless a card or a power or a weapon specifies otherwise, you must work your attacks from left through right. So first you would do range, then melee, and then magic. Now, the problem is a hero or a character can only attack with 1 of the 3 categories. In the other 2 categories, the hero is actually just rolling a die to defend, to prevent the opponent from dealing damage to them. Now, the 1 of the 3 that you choose is up to the player, and based on their stats and what they feel is most logical and most optimal, they will choose accordingly. Now, the helpful thing about having allies, as I mentioned earlier, is that each ally, and you cannot have more than 2 allies at a time. If you ever acquire a 3rd one, you'll have to discard one. Each ally can also attack in 1 of the 3 categories. So the only way to attack the enemy in all 3 categories is to have 2 allies, right? So there is that. Okay, so let us see here. So first of all, we're going to look at the stats for each of these, for my hero and for the bad guy I'm facing, the Mistress of the Ferox. We have a modifier of 3, and they have 12 as their standard number for mine. So in order for me to deal damage to them in range, I'm going to have to roll a 12 or higher on the dice and combined with my modifier and any other helps that I would have in order to deal them my damage. And in this case, in the case of Ronan of the Wild, I would deal 2 damage to them. So that's going to make a lot of sense. At the same time, that is where they're the highest. I might just want to attack them with melee since that is where they're at their weakest. But if you fail, the melee damage of this challenge is 2. Now, wherever you defend, you also, or wherever you attack, if you fail, you will be dealt the damage that they give you. So this character only gets damage with magic, but if I fail the diplomacy test, they're also going to give me damage with melee. So first, let me roll for the diplomacy test. And I rolled a 9 and a 1. That's a 10. And the test is a test of spirit. So a 10 plus my spirit modifier, which is 2, and that's a 12. And I needed to roll a 13, folks. By 1, I just missed it. So I am going to incur 2 damage if I do not successfully defend the melee. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Ronan the Wild to attack with range. He's not going to defend with range. He's going to attack. So we're going to roll these dice here. And he rolled a 3 and a 5, which is an 8. We add his modifier, which is 3. That makes it 11. And their mind right there is a 12. So that's just short. So I will not be able to deal damage to them with the ranged attack. Now we'll proceed to melee, where I will defend. I'm going to roll these dice here. And I rolled a 10 and a 2. That's a 12. Plus my modifier of 2 is 14. And their body is 8. So I will not suffer damage. I have higher than them, so I will not suffer damage. Because otherwise they would have given me 2. And now, with my Burning Priest, I'm going to do my magic attack. So let's roll these dice here. And we've got a 6, a 7, plus his stat of 2, which is 9. But unfortunately, their magic is 14. So as you can see, on the other side of the backslash here, they have a 1. So that means they will deal 1 damage to the attacker, which in this case was not my character, Ronan of the Wild. It was my ally, the Burning Priest. So he takes 1 damage for that. So this is going to be tough for the priest. I'm not sure I'm going to keep on making him attack because I don't want to lose him. But this Mistress of the Ferox has a very strong magic attack. Now, at this point, we went through 1 round of combat. I could choose to try to run away or something like that, but I'm going to keep on going, right? You keep on going to either you defeat the monster or until your character is knocked out, or again, if you choose to flee. So I'm going to roll for combat, for ranged combat again, and again, I will be attacking and hopefully dealing damage. And oh my goodness, it was 2 6s and they knocked each other and it became a 6 and a 2. That's an 8. Plus a 3 is an 11. Again, I fall 1 short. Terrible. Okay, so now I'm going to defend with, okay, and I got a 10 and a 17, which is more than enough to withstand their 8. I think I'm going to start attacking with melee. It's just that I deal less damage with that. Okay, and now I'm going to try again to attack with the Burning Priest with magic. Hopefully I'm more successful this time. And I rolled an 8 and a 1. That's a 9. Plus his modifier 2 is 11, which again is not enough for his 14. So I will incur another damage for the Burning Priest. Oh my gosh, folks. All right, I got to get serious now. All right, so I am going to defend with range this time. And of course, now is that I get an amazing roll. A 14 plus a 3 is a 15. I survive. I don't get no damage, which doesn't matter anyways because they don't deal damage with range. Now I'm going to do attack with the body. And I rolled a 9 plus his modifier 2 is 11, which is more than enough to surpass the 8 of the mistress here. And we will deal just 1 damage to her because Ronan of the Wild does not deal as much damage for melee. All right, and now I'm going to defend with magic, with Ronin, I'm not going to attack with the Burning Priest because the Burning Priest can only take 1 more damage. So Ronin of the Wild is going to take the hit for us. Hopefully I can roll higher than a 14. And I rolled a 9 plus his modifier of 2, which is an 11. So he will take a damage here. Okay. If I would have been smart about this, folks, I would have saved myself and the priest lots of unnecessary suffering. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to go for another round of combat. Again, I'm going to defend with the melee, with the range. And this time I rolled an 11 plus his modifier of 3 is a 14. And again, when I defend, I roll higher than what I need to. Now I'm going to attack. I'm choosing to attack with melee. And I rolled an 18, which is more than enough. It would deal them their second damage, which is their life. Again, it gives me 1 coin as a reward. And instead of discarding this card, I add it here. And it's a card that I could use in the future. I could discard this card to automatically succeed at any challenge with the word Ferox in the title. So that is awesome. Okay. So we are done. And, oh, by the way, when you complete an adventure, you successfully complete an adventure, you gain the colored token for it. And on the other side of it, you'll see a number. In the case of the greens, they're all 1s. And these are experience points. And basically, in order to level up in future rounds, and by leveling up, you get these different tokens that add stats to your character. In order to level up, you need to spend 5 experience points, right? In a combination of these different tokens here. So you spend 5 experience points. You can use them in order to gain additional level ups or to level up your character in different categories. Okay, so that's awesome. Now let's move on to my next turn here. I got 1 coin, so I think I want to do a little bit more fighting. So there's this space right here. If I roll the right amount of dice. All right, so I just need 1 hill, which I do have. And if I do this, it would set me up to be close to Riverwatch in my future turn. And Riverwatch has a very expensive ally here. Oh, Riverwatch has some very expensive cards. I don't even know if I want to work towards Riverwatch. How about Frostgate over here? Frostgate, ooh, it has this armor here. You can only have 1 armor, by the way, in your supply and up to 2 weapons. The Westerian Shell Shield. It only costs 1. And it has this weapon for melee. It's the Dragon Tooth Hammer. Even though Ronin of the Wild's best attack is range, doesn't hurt to have a good melee weapon. I might want to work my way northward to Frostgate just because I see the cards here are cheaper. There's also Greyhaven. Greyhaven also has a cheap ally for 1. Not that I would want Griffin. And it has a moderately expensive ally here, Drogmont the Wise. I'm going to work my way up to Frostgate. Let's see where I could go. But I also want to get to a green adventure token. So let's see if I could get to this one right here in the Hanging Woods. I would need a river, which I do have a river right here. Squiggly line there. I would need a field, which I do have a field. And I would need a forest, which I do not. I repeat, I do not have a forest. So let's reconsider that. What about Dawnsmore? Does Dawnsmore have anything worth buying? We have the Potion of Healing. We have Dwarven Ranger, who's a pretty cheap ally. You know what? I might work my way towards getting the Dwarven Ranger. And he helps your melee attack, which is the one attack that I'm not really doing right now. So yeah, I'm going to work my way southward to Dawnsmore. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I can make it here. Let's see. I would need a river, a field, a river, a field, and a hill. Do I have some combination like that? Here's a river. Here's a field. Well, actually, let me save this hill one for here. Here's a field. Here's a river. And here's a field. Yes, I can make it. Okay. And that leaves me within decent range of Dawnsmore, because I do want to get this ally here. Okay, so I'm here, and I'm going to try to have another adventure. So let's draw the top card over here. And we've got another enemy here. We got the Death Witch, who also has a life of 2. It has some flavor text here. You hear rumors that one of Vorakesh's allies, the Necromancer, a mysterious Death Witch, has been seen in the area, but no one will confirm the story. Before combat, I need to test my spirit and again my diplomacy, which I have none. Ronan is not very diplomatic. To find the witch's location from the locals, if you fail, you take 2 fatigue tokens. And as a reward, I would get 1 coin. All right, so let me set this apart over here just to make sure this is my area here, not to confuse it with who I'm fighting. Okay, so first I got to test my diplomacy or my spirit. And I've got a 17. That's awesome. Even without my modifier, that is more than enough. So I will succeed, which basically means I do not take the 2 fatigue, right? Which is great. Okay, now we'll proceed to combat. And let's look at her stats. She's actually pretty good all throughout. She's got 13 mind, 11 body, and 11 spirit. So, again, I think... see, I made the mistake last time of doing so much ranged attack, and it was just so hard to beat them. So I think I'm going to be more conservative this time, and I'm just going to go for defense in range. And again, I got a 14 plus my modifier of 3 is 17. That would have been enough to knock her out. Oh, Harry. But now I'm going to go with my melee. And I rolled an 8 plus my modifier of 2 is a 10. And I would have needed an 11. Oh, goodness. Okay. And now I'm going to attack with the priest for magic. The priest might die because she does deal damage if I fail in this attack. So, and I rolled a 5 plus the priest's modifier of 7 is not going to be enough to cover this 11. I will be dealt this 1 damage, or the priest shall be. And the priest is now dead. And I really didn't get to capitalize on the priest. So I'm frustrated about that. Okay. Now I'm going to just have to go back at it. I'm going to go all out and try to defeat them. I'm going to attack with the range. And now I roll a 5, guys. The camera has proven that my luck with dice is absolutely awful. Okay, so I will incur 1 damage because of that. So that's the 2nd damage this character has taken. Now I will defend with melee. And I rolled a 10 plus his modifier of 12. That's enough. Not that this character deals melee damage. And now I will defend with magic. And I got a 13, which is enough to cover this. Okay. Whew. Okay, I am not going to... It has not been going well for me, guys. I am going to attack. Do I really want to go through this? Yeah. I'm going to attack. I'm going to attack with range. Here we go. And I rolled a 9. Plus a modifier 3 is a 12. Just short of the 13. I will be dealt another damage. Oh, goodness. Okay, here we go. Here we go. And then I will defend with melee. 8 plus 2 is 10. That is actually not enough to cover the 11, but luckily for me, she does not deal damage for melee. And now I'm going to defend with magic. And I rolled a 14, which is more than enough to survive. Oh my goodness, folks. I got to knock this character out right now. If I don't knock this character out, I'm in big trouble. Okay, so let's see. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I got to knock her out right now. That's what I got to do. I got to knock her out. So go big or go home. Here we go. And I rolled a 17, which will be more than enough to surpass the 13. And I deal 2 damage for range attack. So she's defeated, and I get a gold coin. All right. And I also get this green card here. She's actually placed on the bottom here for the Doom track. 1 more card, and that will trigger the first Doom token to be placed. Okay, guys, I do have 2 experience points, and I do have 2 coins, but at what cost? I've lost my Burning Priest. I've also made Ronan the Wild very weak. The good thing is when characters get knocked out, you automatically discard all their wound and exhaustion tokens, which is awesome. But you also discard all their gold, and you discard their highest cost ally or item. So that is very costly. Now, in my case, I don't have any allies or items, so this is the perfect time to die if I were to, right? So I want to go to Tamalier anyways soon. Ooh, yeah, I could afford this guy. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to ooh, but you know what? If I don't heal, this guy I'll have to face the consequences of this guy. I'm gonna try to travel to this first, so that if I happen to die, I die. And if I get some coin, I could use it to buy the Dwarven Ranger here, but also have enough to heal, to spend for healing. So let me roll here. Let's see what I need. I need a field, and a field, and a field. And as you could imagine, fields and roads in particular are the two most common symbols on these dice. So it's pretty easy to travel through those spaces. So I'll be right here, and I'm going to try to have an adventure, even though my character is very weak. Oh! And it's a very powerful, it's the most powerful enemy I fought so far. Vorakesh's Necromancers. The life is 3. Some flavor text here. You have discovered a coven of necromancers preparing to raise more undead warriors to fight at Margav's side. Before combat, I gotta test my mind, which is fine because I have a very high mind stat, plus the subset skill of sneak. But I don't have the sneak skill, so I won't be able to add additional modifiers. And I gotta pass the test of 13. If you succeed, your hero receives a +2 bonus to his first attack roll. So that's very helpful. And I have a reward of 2 coins if I defeat this. Okay, so let me roll and test for this mind test here. And I rolled an 8 plus a 1, that's a 9. Plus my modifier of 3 would be 12. But I needed 13. So nothing bad happens to me, but I did not gain the additional 2 bonus to my first attack roll. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm going to attack. Let's look at this stats. This person's a little bit weaker earlier on, which I like, but their magic is very strong, and they deal 3 damage. So I gotta find a way. Oh man, I am gonna have to incur his magic at least once. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to roll. I'm going to attack with range. And I rolled more than enough, a 17. And I will deal 2 damage to this character. Now I will defend with melee. And I got a 7, a 2, that's a 9. Plus my modifier of 2 is 11. Just enough to withstand him. It doesn't matter because they don't deal melee damage. And now I'm going to defend with magic. And this is where it counts, folks. I need to roll an amazing amount. And I rolled a 5. Are you kidding me? That is nowhere near the 12 that I would have needed. This guy deals me 3 damage, but I only could have taken 1 anyways. So my character is knocked out. I must place him in the nearest city. So that's why I did not go to the city first, guys, because, again, the losing of the health and the stamina tokens, that's great. But the losing your most powerful ally or weapon, that is terrible. And if I would have gone and bought the Dwarven Ranger first, and then shortly afterward fought them and died, that would have sucked. Okay, so I'm done. Now I'm in Donsmore, and I'm going to use my 2 gold coins to get the Dwarven Ranger. Oh, by the way, real quick, since I failed to defeat this monster, first of all, we discard its heart attack, and we place this special incomplete event token, numbered 1, in the spot where I failed to defeat that monster. And now we put this monster on the top of the board on the first slot that corresponds with this token. That's a reminder that if any hero were to go to that space, that is what awaits them. They don't draw a new card from the combat deck or from the adventure deck. They need to address that incomplete card that was never taken care of to begin with. Okay, so there's that. So I got the Dwarven Ranger. He's got 3 heart and no stamina. Just a little bit of flavor text on his card. Each year, the Dwarven Strongholds send out their finest young warriors to explore the world. The longer the warriors range the land, the greater their reward when they return home. And basically, he's going to be helpful in particular for melee, so I could do some melee attacking, which I have not been doing too much with Ronin the Wild. He has the same exact melee stats of Ronin the Wild. Okay, so there we go. Now, I am going to try and go back. Do I want to go back there? I would get 2 coins, but this guy's tough. He's a 3. But you know what? He's actually worth it. So I'm going to roll. I just need to roll any field die, and I do. I got a field die. And I'm here. I'll temporarily remove this number 1. I'll bring back Vorakesh's Necromancer. And let's see if we could do it this time. Now, again, we have to address his before combat. I will test my sneak ability. So hopefully I can do this. And I got a 15, so I pass, which means I get a +2 bonus to my first attack roll. That is awesome. So I'm going to attack with range here, and I will add an additional 2 to my attack. And I've got an 8, an 18, of course. This is when I roll amazing, when I get a +2 bonus. That is more than enough. I will deal 2 heart damage, once again, to Vorakesh's Necromancers. Now, I will attack again with the Dwarven Ranger, in particular with melee here. And I got a 15, which is more than enough, and the Dwarven Ranger deals 1 damage of melee every time he's successful, and that's their 3rd damage, so this character here has been defeated. I'm going to get the token right here for my 3rd experience point, and I'm going to gain 2 gold coins as my reward. And finally, this card will be discarded. It will be the 2nd card on the Doom track. And remember, the way I play, it's that when the 3rd card of the Doom track is placed there, that triggers the first placement of the Doom token. Okay, so there we go. Now, we will move on to my next turn. And you know what? When I went to Dawnsmore to shop, I forgot to draw an additional card to give me an option, to give me more options. Okay, so we're done with that. I think I want to make my way back to Frostgate because there is a really good weapon there. Let's see if there's any affordable allies. There are some that are too affordable. I don't want them too cheap either. There is Honor Sword, which I mentioned earlier. He's a 4, but I need someone that helps me with magic because he helps me with melee and range, but I already am very competent in those areas. So let us see. Ooh, Sister Celia is really good with magic, but she costs 7, so it's going to take me a while to get to her. So I think I'm just going to quest for a little bit as I work my way to Frostgate in order to get that weapon there, that melee weapon, the Dragon Tooth Hammer. But do I want that? I really want a ranged weapon. I think I'm just going to, guys, I'm searching for direction here. I think I'm just going to, a weapon, a sword here. Hero inflicts +2, in melee combat. It's pretty good. I think I am going to just start questing a little bit more in order to make some more money. So I'm going to try to work my way northward. Let's just do this. And I've got, wait, wrong dice. Sorry, folks. That's not how you move. All right, so let me try to make my way northward. I'm going to use a field dice here, and a field dice here, and a field dice here. And I would need a forest, but I didn't roll any forest. Are you kidding me? Maybe not. Maybe that's not what I want. Maybe I want something else. You know what? I am just going to stop right here and basically do nothing. Then I'm going to end my turn and start a new one. And I'll move. I need a forest. And I rolled 1 forest die. Exactly. Oh, no, I rolled 2, actually. But I only need 1 because I'm going to go right here. And I'm going to draw the top card from here. And it's an ambush, an enemy. And they have 2 life here. All right. So it says before combat, you test your mind 15. You need to successfully pass a test of 15 to spot the ambush. If you succeed, you inflict 1 heart and start the first round of combat in any phase you choose, which would be helpful if you were more powerful in melee or magic. In my case, that's irrelevant because Ronin of the Wild is better at ranged anyways. And I receive a reward of 2 coins. This is pretty good. So if I succeed, I deal 1 damage right off the bat. So I just need to pass a test of 15 for mine. And I rolled a 10 plus my modifier of 3 is a 13. Not quite enough. Okay, that's all right. That is all right. So now we'll proceed to the combat. And I am going to start with a ranged attack with Ronin of the Wild. And I rolled an 11 plus his modifier of 3 is a 14. I didn't check the stats earlier. Look how powerful he is for this. He's a 15. So I rolled a 14, just short. So I will be dealt 1 damage right here. Okay, now I'm going to attack with the Dwarven Ranger for melee. And I rolled a 12 plus his modifier of 2 is 14. More than enough to surpass this 12 right here. And I deal 1 damage to this character. And now Ronin of the Wild is going to defend with his magic. And that is more than enough to withstand his 9. So he won't be dealt any damage from magic. Now, I'm going to go engage in combat again. This time, since I didn't realize earlier, how weak his magic is. And one of the good things about Ronin is that he has a little bit of everything. So I'm actually going to defend with range right here. And I rolled a 15 plus his modifier of 3. Of course, that always happens to me when I'm defending. Then I roll amazingly, okay? So I will not suffer any damage. But now the Dwarven Ranger will attack with melee. And he rolled a 19, which is more than enough to surpass this 12. He will deal him 1 more damage, which he only takes 2 anyways. And I will gain the reward of 2 more gold coins. These gold coins are very, very helpful. So here's 1 more gold coin. And here's 2 more gold coins. I also get this green token for my 4th experience point. I'm just 1 experience point away from being able to level up. And I will add this here to the Doom track. This is the 3rd card in the Doom track based on my particular variant. This will trigger the first placement of one of these Doom tokens. So we are 1/8 of the way through the game. Amazing, right, guys? All right. So what happens is you discard all of the, you keep the last card, discard the other cards, and slide the last card that was placed all the way in the bottom. So there's always going to be 1, which is, again, folks, is why I added it to 3, or I increased it to 3 for every Doom token placed, because if not, then basically every time a adventure card is discarded, it triggers the placement of a Doom token. And again, I personally am not good enough for that particular challenge. Okay, so let's try 1 more turn over here. Let me roll some dice. And you know what? I think I'm ready for the next level. Let's try to get to a yellow adventure here. So here I would need a field, or road actually. Sorry, that's a road. I would need, do I have anything else? I have another road right here. And I could use this here for a forest. And I would end up in this yellow spot. And now we're going to try to have an adventure with someone slightly more powerful. I wonder if I'm ready for that. We'll see. All right. So we've got the Ferox Ambush, which again, remember, I have this card here. It says I could discard this card to automatically succeed at any challenge with the word Ferox in the title. Okay, so with a mighty snarl, a savage Ferox launches itself at you. The creature is a blur. It moves almost too fast to be seen. I would get a reward of 3 coins. Their life is 3, and they're very stacked early on here. They're a little bit vulnerable with the magic. Let's see what we do here. Okay, so I am going to start this combat by defending with the range. And I rolled a 10 plus my modifier of 3 is a 13. Not quite enough. They deal a damage of 2 to my character. So that is brutal. He's 1 away from being knocked out. Now I will attack melee with my Dwarven Ranger. And that's a 8. His 8 combined with his modifier of 2 is a 10. Which is not enough for this. And he will be dealt 1 damage. Oh, guys, I'm up to a terrible start. I'm going to now attack with the magic. I saw that he was vulnerable in magic. And I rolled a 16, which is more than enough. So I will deal 1 damage to him. Okay. Now, I'm going to bet knocked out anyway if I lose this one. So I'm going to try to attack. I'm going to attack with the range. And I rolled a 12. Plus his modifier 3 is 15, which is exactly what I needed in order to cover this spread of 15 here. And he deals 2 more damage, which brings him to a total of 3. This guy here is dead. And I will receive this token here, which is 2 experience points. I will receive the reward of 3 gold coins. Here's a currency of 3. And we will add this card right here. And now, at the end of your phase, at the end of all your phases, you can try to level up as long as you have enough experience points. And I do. I have 6 experience points. So I'm going to spend 5 of them in order to increase one of my stats. And I'm looking at my stats, and I think what I want to do, since I'm going to be attacking a lot with melee anyways, and that's where I get most of my damage, I'm just going to increase my melee, my range, I should say, my range stat. So I'm going to grab this token. Where is it? Where is it? I'm looking for a +1, guys, not a plus. Oh, okay, awesome. So, yes, this token right here. This token right here gives me +2 mind. So for mind tests, including ranged combat, I'm going to have an additional stat of +2. So instead of it being 3 as my modifier, I'm going to have a modifier of 5. And that's it, folks. That's pretty much it for today. That's pretty much what the game of Runebound. So players keep on engaging in all these different adventures, these combats, these quests, leveling up their characters until ultimately the Doom track is all the way to the top, which will give each player an opportunity, in the case of a solo game, just the one player, will give each player the opportunity to run through this red deck right here until either they are knocked out or until they defeat Margath. Now, if you're lucky enough, Margath might be one of the earlier characters you draw, but if not, you might have to wait a while. The good news is this deck is very, very small, and if you actually try to go through some of these adventures before, you might actually run through a little bit of them as well. So yeah, finally, once the first player, or in a solo game, a player defeats Margath the Dragon, the ultimate bad guy and mastermind in this game. If they successfully defeat Margath, they are the winner of the game. If they are defeated by Margath, then they are eliminated and they have lost the game. This is one of those games, just like in Runebound 3rd Edition, where it's possible for all players to lose the game, even though it's not a cooperative game. And that's it, folks, for today. Thank you so much for joining us here on Harry Met Board Games. This is Harry saying take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun gaming. Bye-bye.